First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to sell the land my daughter inherited from her dad to pay for my stepson's surgery? My female 39, late husband passed away when our daughter was 10 years old. He inherited the land from his mom and decided to leave it as it is. He didn't invest in it, he just decided that he'd leave it for our daughter. Before he died, we had a few conversations that were unwanted but necessary, and he made it clear that the land goes to our daughter. Our daughter is now 15 years old. I married my now husband Josh, who has a chronically sick son aged 17. I have a job, and so I help with hospital bills / medication, and 4 months ago, I paid X money to get my stepson the medical device he needed, but that's just a temporary solution. I do all I can, and the money I have left is for basic everyday needs. My husband isn't doing well financially. His work was affected by our circumstances and is struggling. About a month ago, Josh brought up the land and asked questions about it. I told him that I don't plan on doing anything with it, and it will be my daughter's decision when she's older. He never brought it up again, until last week. He came back from the hospital looking very angry. He said he got into an argument with his family for refusing to help him with my stepson's surgery in March. He asked me if I could sell the land, use some of the money for my stepson's surgery, and give the rest to my daughter. I told him I can't. He told me I'm her parent, meaning that I get to decide on what to do with the land, and it's not like I will get into legal troubles because I have the authority to do what I want. We argued back and forth, and he lashed out at me saying I was being selfish and prioritizing my daughter over his son. He said he already made plans because he couldn't wait any longer and needed the money, so he expects me to pitch in and help. His words were hurtful because I can't count the times I helped with both money and effort, and just because I told him I can't do anything with the land, he calls me selfish. We got nowhere after this argument. His last sentence before he walked out was, I hope your conscience will let you sleep at night. And it was awful. I cried because he was putting a lot of pressure on me and refusing to see that all I got for my daughter's future is this land that her dad left her. Most of my salary is spent on my stepson and his needs. His sister called me asking why I was arguing with him and making him stressed out when he's dealing with so much already. I don't know what he told her, but he probably lied. He's not speaking to me right now and is trying to talk to my daughter about it. I'm not even sure what he's telling my stepson now since he already talked to his sister, causing her to lash out at me. Answering the question, the surgery is only needed to improve his condition. The device we got him isn't supposed to be used for long, even though it's only been 4 months. I understand it's a temporary solution, and my stepson's health isn't improving. My husband has time to find money, but is making it seem like it's my fault, and that he doesn't need to find the money since we have the land. He keeps saying that I'm selfish and not doing enough. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, and maybe don't let him manipulate your daughter into giving it to him? Jesus Christ. I too am making sacrifices if you can't see that. I even at some points sold some of my jewelry to help out. I absolutely don't mind helping my stepson. He's struggling, I know that. But my husband disrespected me with his behavior and clearly doesn't care about my daughter's future that much. Or maybe he's just desperate, but that is no excuse. You need to consult an attorney. This guy's going to psychologically break your daughter down until he gets what he wants. Please arrange to put the land in a trust to protect it. Edited to add, if you and your husband own the home you live in, you might want to check if he's remortgaged it. Not the a-hole, but if the land wasn't legally left to your daughter, I'd be looking to get it ring-fenced in the event of a divorce. This, if it has not already happened, get a lawyer, now. This, consult with a lawyer, but maybe putting the land into a trust will help protect it from his greedy hands. Not the a-hole. It sucks what is happening to his son, but that is not his or your land. He made plans? He shouldn't have. Anything regarding money that's not his should be discussed first. He's desperate, and this won't end well. It's really starting to feel he's using you as financial help for his son. Do you even have a stable relationship? How is your relationship impacting your daughter? Helping is one thing, but he is crossing lines that may end up with decisions that could seem like you're spitting on your late husband's grave. Perhaps you need to get away for a day somewhere you feel calm and safe, then think about the situation you're in. He has some nerve calling you selfish after you pitched for his son's bills time and time again. Disgusting. I hope your conscience will let you sleep at night. I hope one day he will look in the mirror and see what sort of guilt-tripping monster he's turning into. Is trying to talk to my daughter about it. You're the a-hole for this. What are you doing? She's 15 and is guilt-tripping her? Get her away from him. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling stepmother's secret to her parents? My female 15 mom passed away in October 2019 after a long battle with lung cancer. I was really close to her and I miss her all of the time. In January 2020, my dad brought home his new girlfriend to meet us, and she moved in with us when our state went into lockdown in March. They got married in November. I hate her. I know it's a cliche, but for the past year, I felt like my dad shoved aside mine and my siblings' grief so that he could have fun with a new wife. She's not evil or anything. I think she doesn't know what to do with us, so she mostly ignores us. A few months ago, I overheard her talking on the phone with a friend, and basically, it turns out that she met and started dating my dad before my mom died. I have no idea if my mom knew or not, but to me, it feels incredibly disrespectful. Stepmom's parents came to our house for Christmas, and while they were mostly nice people, they kept telling their daughter how proud they were of her for stepping up and being a mother to these children. I got so mad because she clearly was trying to make it seem like we have a better relationship than what actually exists. So, I told her parents that she wasn't much of a stepmother, and that dating my dad before my mom had even died wasn't something a good person would do. The fallout hasn't been pretty, and even though it felt righteous in the moment, I've been thinking I went too far. Am I the a-hole for tattling on my stepmother? Edit. Wow. Thank you all for your responses. I saw a few people asking for more info, so I thought I'd add it here. After I found out they'd been dating since before my mom died, I told my siblings. We tried to talk to our dad about it. He told us that his romantic life was his business, and has shut it down anytime one of us tries to talk about it. So basically, I don't know if my mom knew or approved of them dating before she died. As for how things are now, it got pretty tense. Neither my dad nor stepmom has talked to me since Christmas Day, unless I say something first. Her parents were really upset. I don't know everything she told them, but they were upset enough to cut their visit short. Instead of leaving on the 29th, they left after lunch on the 25th. I really am grateful to everyone who shared a personal story about losing a parent. A lot of the times, I don't really know how things are supposed to happen now without her. Reading about how you've dealt with losing your parents made me feel kind of more steady, so thank you. Not the a-hole. Perhaps it was a bit petty, but honestly, I would probably do the same. Lol. As someone who grew up with step-parents, I always hated the whole step up and become the parent thing. Just feels disrespectful. Anyways, not the a-hole because you just revealed the truth. And what happens next is the result of stepmom's actions. Good luck, OP. It feels disrespectful because it's a person viewing you as an obstacle or a hardship to be endured, instead of, a person or even family. Not the a-hole, OP. I think anyone would have thought about doing what you did. Not the a-hole. Your dad should have handled his relationships with his wife and his kids much better. This likely wouldn't have happened if he had acted like an actual adult. I'm so sorry about your mom. But on this note, please be careful not to take things out on your stepmom that you're really upset with your dad for. I'm sure it's hard to have your relationship with your dad impacted right now, but you're obviously and rightfully angry with him. It's obviously much easier to blame your stepmom, and she's not innocent. But your dad is the only one that can actually fix this for you and your siblings, and make things right. Nothing your stepmom does or doesn't do will make the hurt of what your dad has done, and probably still is doing, go away. He has to own this and make that effort. I'm very sorry for your loss. Edited to add, in no way am I saying that OP should not be mad at stepmom. Not the a-hole. She did what she did. You only said what she did. If she can't live with the consequences, maybe she and your dad shouldn't have done it? Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for saying I don't want to call my dad's wife and stepkids my bonus mom/siblings? My dad moved his wife and her kids in at the start of COVID, rushed because things locked down, and they got married in June. I, 15 female, only met them for the first time a little over a year ago, Christmas Eve to be exact, and we didn't get to spend much time together before they moved in, and it was a lot and very fast. Her kids are 7, 5, and 4. I still don't know how I feel about them, honestly. They seem alright, but a little annoying and very different from the family I'm used to. My mom died when I was 10, so I'm glad my dad is happy again. I just don't feel the way he does about them. My dad's wife and her family use the term bonus instead of step. She says it seems closer and there's less distance with bonus. So, her kids call my dad their bonus dad. They call me their bonus sister, and they want me to use the term too. And I said no. I said it sounded weird to me. She said she understood, but she hoped I would try it out sometime. My dad then said to think of the kids and how they feel like I don't care because they're little, and I'm using a term that seems very negative and distant. I told him I haven't grown to really care about them yet. That it's also much harder for me. He said he got it, but as the oldest, I need to think of their feelings more than my own weirdness. His wife said it was okay, and if I don't like the term, kids will adjust. My dad admitted to me over Christmas he was hoping I would have softened more by now to use the term. Am I the a-hole? Oh, sweetheart. I'm a bonus mom to a little boy, and reading this broke my heart. You are not the a-hole. Your dad really messed up the process of blending families. It sounds like your stepmom is being cautiously optimistic that you might someday grow to love them as your bonus family, and I hope she isn't pushing you. I hope she's letting you take your time. I really want to have a conversation with your dad. He needs to reset his expectations. Maybe it's time to loop in some literature on how to blend families the right way. It's time to do some repairing, but that's your dad's job, not yours. This is about your comfort and your timeline, not when your dad wishes you would get with the program. For your part, I do think you should continue to be as kind and loving as possible to the kiddos. They are just as much pawns in this game like you. They didn't have a choice in the matter. Not the a-hole. Another parent trying to force their child to help them play happy family. There's nothing wrong with the term stepmom and step-siblings. To be honest, I always thought a bonus mom was someone who wasn't your mom by blood or marriage, but someone you look up to like a mom. That's the way I feel too. Like, bonus parents or bonus siblings to me signifies that you are really close and want something deeper than step. And that's great for someone who feels that way. But for me, it's not where I am with them. No a-holes here. I like your stepmother's point of view in this. I think that it is great that she said she understood and did not try to put pressure on you to change. It's up to you how you feel about these people, and forcing a feeling of closeness when you're not there yet is only going to build resentment. You may get closer over time and change your mind, or you may not. Either is okay. Your dad is the a-hole in this situation for putting the other kids' feelings above yours. The kids will hear the term step being used to describe family in life. They can and will adjust. Also with young kids, it's how you treat them that matters. If you are nice to them, that should be enough. Now, for the last story, am I the a-hole for buying my best friend a Switch and not my stepbrother? I, male 17, have divorced parents. My mom remarried when I was 14 and my stepbrother was 13. My grandma, on my dad's side, passed away 2 years ago, and my dad told me she left me money. I didn't get to visit her much, so I was incredibly sad and didn't want to use any of the money she left me. With holidays around, and me being flat broke, I asked my dad for access to the money, and he told me he's been adding into it, so it was enough for me to buy gifts and keep the rest for whatever I wanted to save for. So, I used it to buy Christmas gifts for my family, and to buy a Switch from my best friend because his family isn't very wealthy, and I knew it was something he really wanted. I wasn't able to give it to him on Christmas, so I asked him if he could come over after. A few days ago, my stepbrother was snooping in my things, and I guess he thought it was for him. He told my mom and his dad that I had gotten him a Switch. Today, my friend came over and I gave him the Switch, and he was so happy. My mom said I was sweet for giving him and my brother a Switch. And I kinda went, huh? She told me my stepbrother told her that I got him one, but I didn't. So I told her I didn't get him one, and it was for my friend. She said I shouldn't have gotten his hopes up, and he was looking forward to having one. I said it wasn't my fault he looked through my stuff, and I wasn't going to take away the only Christmas gift my friend got, just because my stepbrother thought it was his. My stepbrother is upset over the whole thing, and my mom thinks I should have gotten it for my brother and not my friend. Am I the a-hole? Now let's read the top judgment. Not the a-hole. It is your money, and your choice what to spend it on. Your stepbrother was wrong to snoop through your things. He got his heart broken because of his snooping, and him assuming the gift was for him. Your mom should have reprimanded your stepbrother for snooping and not you for giving the gift you had to your friend. He's also 16. He'll get over it. At 16, he's old enough to find a summer job and save to buy himself one. Maybe not during a pandemic, but you get my point. Not the a-hole. Your stepbrother snooped and made a false assumption. You didn't say it was for him, and his name wasn't on it. You'd be more of an a-hole if you gave it to him, because you'd be taking it away from the person you actually bought it for. Unrelated, but it's really sweet that you did that for your friend. Exactly. This should have been a valuable lesson about snooping. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your mom is mad at you that your stepbrother snoops through your things? Talk about a parent who doesn't know how to be a parent. It's not your role to give him gifts. It's hers. If she keeps pressuring you, just speak with your dad. Honestly, I'm surprised why you're not living with him in the first place. He sounds more reasonable than your mother.
Am I wrong for asking my ex to pay child support I think he owes? My ex and I were married for about 10 years, and during the entire marriage, he brought home about 10% of the income. He had this thing about not working for anyone but himself, so he started one failed business after another. The one good thing about my ex is his work ethic, and he worked at least 100 hours a week on his businesses, and sometimes he would sleep for only a couple of hours a day. That meant that I was both the breadwinner and did most of the work raising our daughters. We fought constantly until I finally had enough of feeling like a single parent, so I divorced him. In the divorce, he agreed to not sue for child support and alimony. In turn, I agreed to not move the girls more than 50 miles from him. I eventually remarried to a wonderful man and had 3 more children. My new life is wonderful with a partner who contributes equally. My husband works a normal job, helps raise our children, helps out with housework, and loves my daughter as his own. My ex's business took off, and he's now firmly in the 1%. He bought his parents a $1 million home. He also bought himself a $1 million house just for the location, tore down the house, and built a bigger house on the land. He's fully paying for our oldest daughter's college, and intends to pay for the younger one when she goes next year. The problem is, my husband got laid off about 6 months ago, and due to the state of the economy, has been unable to find another job in his field. Money is getting tight, and we had a discussion. He brought up the fact that my ex was a deadbeat during our marriage, and now that he's doing well, he owes me money. I agreed, so I brought it up to my ex and asked him to pay me for all of the years I paid for him. He had the audacity to actually laugh in my face. We got into a huge argument, and now our daughters are mad at me. I told them they're too young to remember me paying for all of the groceries and our rent. They're too young to remember the weeks upon weeks that I was the only one home to take care of them. I told them they see their dad as he is now, not as the guy back then who begged me for gas money. I'm not asking him for money out of the blue. I supported him for 10 years and basically raised our girls alone. I think he owes me for that and told him so. Now for the top comments. You're the idiot. Asked him to pay me for all of the years I paid for him. That's not how it works. You cannot ask for your money back. You accepted to financially support him at the time, and unless you have a contract with him, he doesn't owe you anything. The only thing he owes you is the child support a judge or a mediator will decide is fair. No more, no less. Also, he agreed not to sue you for child support years ago when he was poor. If you decide to go in front of a judge for child support, the judge will take those years of you not paying into account, and you might end up having to pay him big time. The ex made 10% of her income, so he was definitely due alimony and child support. If they go in front of a judge now, I don't think it'll go the way she thinks. You're the idiot. God, you're the idiot. The sheer audacity to ask for child support when he's already fully paying for both kids' education, just because he got lucky with one business. And let's be clear here, don't call this child support because this isn't about the kids, it's about your money-grubbing entitlement. He doesn't owe you anything. You're the idiot. He doesn't owe you anything. You two were married, things didn't work out, and the two of you made an agreement and went your separate ways. And he's fully paying for both daughters' school now. The problem is my husband got laid off about 6 months ago, and due to the state of the economy, has been unable to find another job in his field. Then tell him to get a job in a different field, even if it's less lucrative. He called your ex-husband a deadbeat and you agreed, despite him working 100-hour weeks. Maybe your current husband who hasn't worked at all in 6 months and won't get a job in a different field is the deadbeat. I'm not asking him for money out of the blue. I supported him for 10 years and basically raised our girls alone. I think he owes me for that and told him so. You never thought that until your current unemployed husband brought it up. Next story. Am I wrong for refusing to pay child support to my ex-wife for our children so she and her husband can save for their other kids? My ex-wife and I are the parents of a daughter who is 17 and a son who is 15. We share custody of our kids 50-50, and we have been divorced for 13 years now. Neither of us pays child support because we have equal time with the kids, and we split the costs of everything: school, medical, dental, extracurriculars, etc. I opened up bank accounts for my kids when each was born, and I have saved from the get-go. But around 8 or so years ago, I came into some money because I was injured at work, and I put that money into their accounts. As well as this, a relative died 4 years ago, and I was left a sum of money that also went into the accounts for my children. The money I have now saved for them will help them tremendously in their futures, whether they go to college or not. My ex-wife remarried several years ago. Her stepdaughter is 16, she's got a nephew of her husband's that they are raising who is 14, and she has a 7- and 5-year-old with her husband. Ex-wife wanted to talk to me about college for our kids, and she told me that she and her husband had told all their kids that community college would be the most affordable option for them, and that they would get as much help as possible, but a more expensive school would be tough on them. I told her that our kids would have that option if they wanted it, because I have saved a more than healthy amount for them. She asked me why I never told her sooner, and I told her because I was taking care of our children, and it wasn't something she needed to know. A few days after this talk, she called me, and alongside her husband, said that they would like me to pay child support for our kids so that they can save more money for their other children's futures. I told her I was not going to pay her child support, just so she could support the other children in her home. Her husband told me I could always offer to split the money between all of the children. I told him I was not paying for his kids to go to college. I told them I only had a responsibility to my children. I told them if they wanted to save more money, I would happily take the kids more if my kids want to spend more time at home with me. Ex-wife called me cruel and said keeping 50-50 and paying money so our kids' siblings can go to college should be a no-brainer for me. I told her the day I have an obligation to help her support her entire household is a day in another universe where we never broke up. But we did, and she has to accept she is equally responsible for our kids as me. They both told me I was a jerk, and even though I feel like I'm crazy for asking, I must ask, am I wrong? Edit to add, the courts did not order child support because I only make a little more than my ex-wife, and I was well below the threshold they used to determine child support in 50-50 custody cases. I have control of the money. My children are aware it is there and we have talked about it, but they are still undecided on their future plans. They do not have access to the money yet. Not wrong. Also, I'd be extra careful with the college funds. Your kids could be bullied into sharing with their step and half siblings in the future. This OP needs to keep control of the money. Pay the college bills, tuition, room, etc. directly for the first year or so. If he passes all the money to his kids, they may be pressured to give some to the other kids. My son's grandmother left a substantial amount of money to my son's dad, and he allocated a large amount for my son to get a start in life, which included covering college and money left over for major expenses including a down payment on a house in the future. My ex would give my son essentially a payday twice a month for my son's needs, and it was adjusted based on my son's expenses when he moved into an apartment, etc., but only allocated large amounts based on needs such as tuition, etc. It worked out well while my son was in college. This is an excellent option, and therefore is a good way to maintain control of the money. Not wrong, and they are trying to sucker you into paying for their kids. Don't budge. Her ex and her husband are on different planets. Paying child support for their kids is easier for them than for you, and you can't afford to send their kids to college. We take no responsibility for any of their abilities. The claims they make here are absolutely amazing. Next story. Am I wrong for telling my sister that neither her nor her family are welcome to celebrate Christmas with us? I, 32 female, am a mother of 2 kids, 5 female and 2 male. I do not get along with my family. Actually, I've been no contact with my parents for more than 10 years. My husband, 35 male, grew up in this system his whole life, so when we got serious, we dreamed of having the picture-perfect family life that we didn't have while growing up. I have been doing everything I can to make Christmas magical for my small family. Every room is decorated including bathrooms, elaborate lights and decorations on the outside. I stuff advent calendars, make cookies almost every day, matching pajamas, postcards for our friends and so on. Also, we go all out on gifts for our kids. I reconnected with my sister last year. We talk online and have had one face-to-face meeting when she visited my city. She is also married with 3 kids all under 12. Her husband is unemployed, she works retail, and they have a ton of medical debt. I guess she has been going through my social media lately, and she has seen how we celebrate Christmas in our house. Then she contacted me, and after a couple of minutes, she said that they were planning to spend Christmas with us as a gift. I said that I appreciated her gesture, but that Christmas for us is just for our small family. We do not like to include the extended family. She kept insisting that it would be fun, and that my kids would absolutely love to celebrate with their cousins. My kids have never even met their cousins. I kept insisting that it would not be possible for us, and then she switched tones and started telling me that they couldn't afford Christmas for their kids, that they just wanted the kids to have a fun holiday for once. I sympathized with her, but told her again that it would not be possible for them to spend Christmas with us. Then she asked me for some money to help with Christmas expenses. I told her that we do not have any extra funds this month, but that I have a $100 budgeted for gifts for her family that I could send her. She asked for more, but I turned her down. That was when she got angry at me. She said that I was a selfish witch, that it wasn't fair that her kids would not get to celebrate Christmas while I am throwing money out the window on my vanity project of a house. I hanged up on her, then sent her this exact text: "I am sorry that you and your family are struggling, but I will not be sacrificing our family traditions for your ease. I will be sending you a $100 as a gift for the kids, but neither you nor your family are welcome to our family Christmas. I will expect an apology when you cool down, otherwise don't bother contacting me again." I still stand behind my decision to not have them celebrate with us, but I am feeling guilty for how I worded it. So am I wrong for using the phrase, "You nor your family are welcome to our family Christmas"? Now for the top comments. Not wrong. You don't have to invite her, and it's pretty entitled how she tried to invite herself. You set your boundaries and put your family time first. That's completely fine. Your sister needs to mind her own business. Right. Also, how much you want to bet she'd expect OP to buy extra presents for her kids so they don't feel left out? So you said you reconnected last year. Was it over social media? I'm thinking she reached out just because she saw you were doing better and might be a good mark. Not wrong, this woman is just a leech. You reacted exactly right and stick to your guns. The more you give in to this woman, the more she's gonna expect. She is jealous and after handouts. You have worked hard as a family unit, so you deserve your happiness without letting jealousy ruin the happiness of you and your family. Not wrong. Not only is it rude to invite you and your family over, it's worse to insist on it after being refused. No is no. This is how you get no contact like you just did. And the $100 is very generous. I wonder why her husband is unemployed. That is likely part of the reason why they are not having a good Christmas. And many of your vanity projects for Christmas can be done fairly inexpensively yet look pricey, especially if you do it yourself and get goods at sales and thrift stores. She doesn't know how much you spent, etc. I hope she doesn't know where you live. They may show up as a surprise Christmas gift, so be ready if it happens. If they show up out of nowhere, they will not be getting in, and might even get the police called on them for trespassing. Absolutely this. We had a family member who was notorious for just showing up to crash at families' homes. He was beyond offended when he tried that and got escorted by the cops off my property. Last story. Am I wrong for not sharing ownership of my dream car with my boyfriend? I entered my current relationship with a car I purchased while I was in college. At the time, my boyfriend did not have a driver's license or vehicle of his own. For a year, I pushed for him to get his license, offered to teach him in the little banger I had, even drove him to the DMV and bought the book for his G&M license. He neglected to even open them. After getting tired of paying for repairs on this car, a 2008 Yaris, I decided to go to a dealer and trade it for a newer car, a 2016 Juke. Again, I offered to teach him to drive and pushed him to take the test for his G1. After almost a year of owning the new car, he finally went and got the G1, and I started giving him driving lessons. But after a year, I got a job making far more money than I had been, and had also saved multiple years' worth of tax returns to be able to put a down payment on the car of my dreams, a 2-door Wrangler for off-roading. My boyfriend is atrocious with money, has been bankrupt in the past, overspent on money to the point of me needing to cover 100% of bills, often leaving me to make the choice between making a car payment or pay for groceries. We had a plan to purchase him a car with a loan he was approved for, but in his time off, spent all $15,000 of it. Frustrated, I drove to a Jeep dealer and traded the Juke for a Wrangler, making myself the sole owner of the vehicle, not wanting to have his irresponsibility affect my credit any longer. He blew up, saying that the Juke was his, and it was the car he was supposed to learn to drive in, and I was supposed to keep it and keep making payments on it so he could have a car too. Angry, I told him he wasn't allowed to drive the Wrangler, mostly because her is very neglectful on the road, and I had upgraded to steel front and rear bumpers and didn't want him to off someone. I made him borrow a friend's accent to learn and get his G2. I feel like the a-hole for not including him on the purchase, nor allowing him to use it when we are in a relationship, but felt my financial responsibility deserved to be rewarded and protected. You need to dump him. He's entitled, completely untrustworthy with money, mooching off of you shamelessly, and too incompetent to drive. Not wrong, but why the heck are you still with him? Can you seriously see a future with this person? There is no future with this dude. Not marriage nor kids. And not even next month's rent or groceries. Why stay? Yeah. OP, your boyfriend is like a 2008 Yaris. He got the job done, but mostly you're just dumping money in to keep him alive. He's not a partner, he's a dependent. Now, imagine going out to the boyfriend dealer and picking out a new one. He'd have that new boyfriend smell. You can get one with steel-toed boots, which is great for rough terrain. Maybe find one who also likes being smart with money. You've got a chance to upgrade here. Not wrong if you take it. Did you really have to ask if you're an idiot for not putting your boyfriend's name on a car you 100% paid for? I hope you're like 19. I'm 26. I probably have myself to thank for everything I allow after not seeking proper help post fleeing a violent relationship. I am being medicated for anxiety and PTSD now though. Listen, I think people throw this accusation around on this sub too much, but I'm gonna say this because you have a history of intimate partner violence. His implying he was entitled to your car because he wanted to use it, and becoming enraged as a result, feels very much like the early stages of emotional mistreatment to me. Ask yourself honestly if you're downplaying his controlling and manipulative tendencies, because they're not as bad as the physical harm you've suffered before. I have a strong hunch that's what's going on. You should get the heck out. You know it won't get better, and it will probably get worse.
Am I the a-hole for not paying for my husband's hospital bill? I, female 31, been with my husband, male 36, for 3 years. We don't share finances, and we each contribute to household expenses equally and individually. He's pretty adamant on being respected when it comes to money, meaning I should not be asking him for money to pay for personal stuff. And the same goes for him, save for when it's an emergency. Last month, I was at the mall shopping for a dress to wear at my sister's wedding, and the money wasn't enough. I called my husband to ask him for money, about $200, but he refused even though he had the money. I wasn't upset. Well, yes, I'm not gonna lie, I was upset about it, because I ended up buying a cheaper dress, but I didn't make a fuss or fight with him for not giving me money. Just a couple of weeks ago, he was involved in an accident. It wasn't serious, but his knee was bad but got worse. He asked if I could help him pay for the hospital bill because I didn't expect to stay longer due to his injury, but I refused. He begged, but I said no was still no. He tried to guilt me into paying by saying that I have money, and that is dealing with an emergency. I said his irresponsibility, whether with money or driving, wasn't my problem. He ended up getting help from his mom. In fact, she paid for the entire bill, then grilled me hard about my refusal to pay. She called me a vile witch and said that I was devoid of empathy or any wife material to do this to my husband. I was bothered by her harassment and told my husband to get her to back off, but he sided with her. I had an argument with him about his double standards, where I'm expected to pay for him and him not doing the same for me like the dress incident a month ago. He looked at me in disbelief, called me insane, and said that I was at fault for not helping him, because unlike the dress incident, this was actually an emergency. Even said I stepped out of line to act this petty and vindictive. I walked out of the room to cool off, but it lasted for days and he's still salty about it. Don't even get me started on his mom. Am I the a-hole? I think I was just holding my part of no mixed finances policy. So to provide more details, when I asked him to help pay for the dress, he asked if he'd get the money back, but I said no, because if I had the money and wasn't struggling, I wouldn't have asked for his help in the first place. That is why I said no. Though he said he'd pay me back when he asked that I help with the hospital bill. Now for the top comments. Everyone sucks here. Why the heck did you guys get married in the first place? Exactly my thoughts. Marriage is when you work together, not against each other. I kept trying to verbalize what Opie and husband are doing to each other, and they're just doing their best to work against their partner. The level of mutual spite is insane. He's pretty adamant on being respected when it comes to money, meaning I should not be asking him for money to pay for personal stuff, and the same goes for him. save for when it's an emergency. Everyone sucks here, OP. Both of you suck. Let's put the your money's yours minus mine for a second. Buying a fancy new dress for your wedding is not an emergency. You had an agreement, and the dress is not included in it. Why did you even ask him? I was upset about it because I ended up buying a cheaper dress, but I didn't make a fuss or fight with him for not giving me money. Stop acting like that's a favor to him. It's a mutual agreement. He tried to guilt me into paying by saying that I have money and that he's dealing with an emergency. I don't see any guilting here. He's stating facts. If you think buying a dress you can't afford is an emergency, per your agreement, why is hospitalization after an accident not one too? He looked at me in disbelief, called me insane, and said that I was at fault for not helping him because, unlike the dress incident, this was actually an emergency. He even said I stepped out of line to act this petty and vindictive. I actually think is right. Calling you insane was spiteful on his part, but he's 100% correct about the emergency thing. And it couldn't be clearer you're being petty and going out of your way to prove your point. You're the a-hole. You specifically say that you don't share finances, save for when it's an emergency. You wanting a new dress isn't an emergency. Your husband having an unexpected hospital visit and stay is the very definition of an emergency. They said save their own money for their own emergencies, and then it played victim to mommy. I'm not saying they have a healthy or productive relationship, or that they should be in one period, but both OP and husband are a-holes. You're the a-hole. The fact that you think I want this dress that's out of my price range is an emergency, and hospitalization after an accident isn't, says some truly terrible things about your character. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for how I reacted when my boyfriend wanted me to pay half his mortgage but not gain equity in the house? I am a 27-year-old woman and I'm getting to a point in my life where I'd consider home ownership. I have a good job in tech, and I'm in a low cost of living area, and I'd been seriously shopping for a beginner home for myself. My boyfriend, who is 32, owns a house and we are talking about moving in together. That's something I'd like in some ways. I want to take the next step in our relationship and I'd love to build a home together. But I also have some equity as a personal financial goal, whether that would mean owning a home together with my boyfriend or buying my own starter home. But he already has a home and he's the sole owner. He pays $1,300 a month in mortgage and taxes and $430 in utilities. He wanted me to move in with him and pay half of that, so $650 for the monthly payment and $215 for the utilities, so $865 total. But it'd still be the sole owner. I said that I'd either want to be living somewhere I'd be gaining home equity, or establish a rental agreement that is at least as good as my current rental situation, which is allowing me to save for a down payment. And if it's going the rental way, I'd want a lease and all the rights and responsibilities of the lessor, him and the lessee, me, laid out. For example, the maintenance responsibilities being on the landlord, term of occupancy defined, a written agreement on the cost of rent and other monetary responsibilities. And I'd want to compare that to my current lease. My current landlord is very on top of maintenance, charges me $680 a month for rent, all utilities included. So if his lease agreement ended up being $865 monthly and the building is in worse repair, that would be a harder choice. I wouldn't want to raise my rent to live in worse conditions. I'd want a rent price that is in line with the current rental market. I'd estimate the rent he could charge on the open market for a room in his house in its current condition would be about $400 or $500 max. He got really upset, saying that he wanted to make a serious step in our relationship, and I was treating it like business, like I was putting on my work persona. I said that I wasn't trying to treat this like work. I do have a job where I have to be kind of detail-oriented and argumentative, but I was just trying to make good financial choices for myself just like he was doing. I said that honestly, I didn't think it would be a good choice to pay half of his mortgage, but he is the only one gaining equity. Unless there were other terms that made it more like a rental agreement, with me as a tenant, him taking full responsibility for the property and its maintenance, my rights defined, and the price being competitive with the current rental market. He got really frustrated and said I sounded like a gold digger. But I laughed at him and said if I were a gold digger, I'd be living with him for free. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I'm seriously considering extending my current lease. But I know my boyfriend feels upset I took my work approach out around him, instead of talking like it was a relationship talk. Am I the a-hole for how I discussed moving in with my boyfriend? Not the a-hole. And if anyone is a gold digger in this scenario, it's him. Good for you on looking at this from a business arrangement perspective, because it is. If you decide to live with him, I would go forward with having a signed contract as you've laid out. For you though, you might consider going ahead and purchasing a home but renting it out. That way you're still gaining equity in a property, living with your boyfriend and is still getting some rent. Just a thought, but whatever you decide, getting a contract with a boyfriend to living arrangements and expectations covers you in any circumstance. Not stay home. OP, don't move in with him unless you're going to save on rent. There's no benefit to you as it is. Basically, you'll be saving him a bunch of money, extending yourself further financially, and without a lease or anything, it sounds like he could kick you out if things don't work out. I also bet if something broke, he'd want to share the cost of it. I tell him you'll move in with him with a leading contract, be $400 a month in rent, and C, no obligation to help pay for anything else. Then, save up. Buy your own home and rent it out until you two decide if you have a future together or where that future is headed. Not stay home, or establish a rental agreement that is at least as good as my current rental situation, which is allowing me to save for a down payment. This seems like a good compromise. You shouldn't have to pay more than your current rental agreement because he owns a house that he bought on his own. That seems like he's trying to take advantage of you. He gets half off his mortgage. You pay more than what you are currently paying? Openly discussing finances is part of a relationship, especially one that's getting serious. You should know each other's income and all debts, and past criminal history/kids should be on the table. There is a difference between being a gold digger and protecting your interests fairly, something your boyfriend seems to be missing. He'd still get a deal even if you only paid the equivalent to what your rent is now, because he'd have extra money he didn't have before. Splitting things evenly isn't always fair. This is one of those situations. Not stay home. You are being a responsible adult thinking ahead, while your boyfriend just wants to pay less for his mortgage. His proposed deal would only benefit him. Do your thing, savor your own property and live your best life. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to put my packaged snacks back in the fridge per my husband's request? Hi, I, female 34, am diabetic, and keeping packaged snacks near me is essential, because oftentimes I get low blood sugar due to issues I have with appetite. I don't eat lunch or dinner properly. My brother-in-law and his pregnant wife moved in with us a month ago. The issue began when my sister-in-law started eating my snacks that I usually keep inside the fridge. I tried buying more snacks, but sometimes they run out, and I end up drinking water mixed with sugar in the middle of the night because I don't have anything else to eat, and my husband won't go out to the store and get me anything. I told my husband, and he told me to be patient with his brother's wife because she's pregnant and is considered sort of sick, so she needs to be cut some slack. I had it, to be honest. I moved all my snacks into the bedroom and inside a box just to keep them safe. Sister-in-law said it was strange that I no longer buy snacks, but I told her that I actually still do. I just keep them safe in my room so no one can touch them. She side-eyed me, then an argument ensued after my husband and his brother came home. My husband berated me for being rude to sister-in-law and childish for moving the snacks and keeping them in the bedroom. I told him why I did that though. He knows what was up, but he said I overreacted and that there was no harm in sharing. He demanded I put whatever snacks I have back into the fridge and stop acting like a child. I said that I won't, and if a sister-in-law and her husband get upset, then they need to understand that I'm diabetic and need those snacks essentially. He yelled in my face, calling me childish, then walked out. Brother-in-law and sister-in-law are cold-shouldering me, and my husband keeps pushing for me to put the snacks back into the fridge where they belong, or he won't speak to me as well. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She can buy her own damn snacks. She's just dating a baby, not turning into one. And she should be able to afford them, not paying full rent for a place of their own. Brother-in-law and sister-in-law should spend less time eating snacks and more time job searching/interviewing so they can get on their feet again if they're about to have a baby. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Let me get this straight. Two adults who are about to bring another human into the world are having a meltdown because you won't share your snacks? Please tell me there is a plan for them to move out soon, because this will not get better when the baby shows up. They're going to have a laundry list of things you should be doing for them. Yeah, when exactly are they moving out? I think Opie needs to move. They don't understand she could die. Unless the pregnant lady is also diabetic, she is not going to die and the baby won't be harmed if she is hungry. Opie will literally die if she doesn't have these handy. Aside from which, they belong to her. The husband yelling at his diabetic wife over snacks is the child. Your pregnant sister-in-law needs to buy her own damn snacks. Your pregnant sister-in-law needs to keep her hands off your snacks. Your husband needs to back you up. You are drinking sugar water in the middle of the night because there is nothing else? This is wrong. Your pregnant sister-in-law needs to be grateful and respectful that you took her in. Her entitled behavior is only going to get worse when the baby comes. I am so sorry. Not stay home and tell your husband to pound sand and buy a mini fridge and get a lock on it. And you don't have to care if anybody likes it. Take care of your own health first. It doesn't sound much like anybody else cares about you and your diabetes. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to kiss my husband's wound? Background. Whenever my 9-year-old son gets injured or hurt, I normally kiss the injured area as a way to comfort him and make the pain go away. I also use it as a source of strength, and he certainly sees it this way. I do not kiss the skin directly, but after I cover the injured area, obviously. My 35-year-old husband got into an accident and had an wound, on the left part of his chest. He has zero pain tolerance, but it takes medication for it. The other day, I was helping change his wound dressing and clean up the wound. Before I could place the new wound dressing, he asked me to kiss it. I refused. It just didn't feel right. His wound was still fresh, and there was already antibiotic ointment applied there, so I just didn't want to do it. He insisted and I kept declining. He then got mad and said that I'd do this with my son. Why not him? I suggested that we just let it go, and proceeded to apply the new wound dressing. He stopped me and went on a long vent about how I don't care about him, and that I clearly feel grossed out by him to not want to kiss his wound. I thought that was silly and told him to let me finish changing the wound dressing, but he started arguing and had me leave the room. I left and he kept sulking for the rest of the night. He then told my son that mommy doesn't love daddy. I don't want to kiss his wound so he could get better. I was floored. My son actually came at me for upsetting my husband and just made me feel bad all around. I kept thinking that I caused this situation and should have just done what he wanted me instead of creating this tension in the house. So, what do you think? Not stay home. Remind your husband that kissing his boo-boo is a mom's job, not a wife's. If he'd rather have a mom than a wife, he needs to go back to his mom's house. And involving your son in his temper tantrum makes him double the a-hole. I wish I could upvote this 100 times. As a man, this post makes me embarrassed that he represents us. Not stay home. Your husband owes you an apology. Not only would I not apologize to him, I would 100% call him out on his manipulative behavior. Ask for an apology and agreement that he promises to never again use your child as a weapon. That crap is toxic AF. He should apologize to his son too. What a piece of work. This times 1,000. Kids do not forget parents switching about one another and puts seeds of doubt of an unstable household at a very young age. He needs to rectify the situation to the kid. You do not do it, OP. It is his responsibility. This 35-year-old man wanted you to kiss his open wound with ointment on it? Gross. I'm going to go with not day-hall here. What husband seems to be missing is that she doesn't kiss the son's open wound either. She says she kisses it after it's bandaged. Hubby's one sick a-hole.
Just found this morning that my fiancé was cheating on me with her boyfriend of 6 years, of which I did not know the existence of. I'll be vague with the dates. I, 25 male, have been with this girl for a couple of years, and we got engaged at the beginning of the year with all her and my extended family. She always told me she had one boyfriend many years ago and was single for a while before meeting me. She also lives 2 hours away from me. I had no reason to doubt her, and at first, she gave me no reason to do so. Then a few months ago, a guy number 1 wrote on Instagram to me telling me about her past. And I asked for any proof, and he told me to find them by myself. But after that, he gave me a few names and an Insta ID of guy number 2. I asked guy number 2 if what guy number 1 told me was true. He denied everything, and when I told my ex-fiancée, she also denied it. For the last month I was always skeptical about her. But then I decided to trust her, and maybe that guy number 1 was just trying to mess up my mind. And then this morning guy number 2 contacted me with another ID and asked my number. That's when he told me everything. For how many years even before knowing me, they were together. How many guys she had, and then he sent me photos, videos, and audios. I asked him for dates to make sure it was after we got engaged. Then he sent me a video and the screenshot of the date and time when he took the video. In the video, she was without any clothes and was using her phone. He also sent photos of her topless with the ring I gave her. I went to check the messages of that date with her. And at the exact time of the video, she was messaging with me while she was with guy number 2 in the hotel. After that, I went out and called my friend and talked with him. He calmed me down and said to verify again that everything guy number 2 sent me was true. So, we double-checked everything. And then I went home and stayed in my car for 3 hours waiting for my dad to come home from work. Meanwhile, she called me and we talked, and then I said, I'm happy today. I feel very lucky. She asked me why, and I told her to wait few hours. Then I saw my dad and told him everything. He seemed calm at first, and we went inside and he told my mom. I didn't tell her anything before because she suffers from depression. And man, I saw my mom and dad crying for the first time. They loved this girl, called her their second child. Every time they meet, they used to give her gift and money. Then my mom called her mom, and everything went down. Calls and messages from her parents. She called me and I sent her every proof this guy number 2 sent me. She denied everything totally, trying to gaslight me. I told her to check the videos and photos, etc. And then her parents asked to talk with me, and I said no. She still said she only loves me, will only marry me or she will never. Then I hung up and my parents took my phone and sent the proofs to her parents, and no more calls. We were supposed to get married in December. I don't know why or for what reason this guy number 2 contacted me now, but I wanted to thank him, but he blocked me, so. Well, now I'm in my bed and waiting for I don't know. Now for the top advice or comments. Congratulations for bullet dodge, bro. Hurts, but you will come out better. You will see. Now make sure you get that ring back. Sell it and take your parent to dinner with the money to celebrate your freedom from that narcissist cheater. Not only that, he sent me screenshots of their video chats where she was braless, and there was my ring too. Thank you, by the way. If the ring is worth anything, tell her to return it. Have your parents pressure her parents if necessary. Mention that you might have to get a lawyer involved. Absolutely. She showed no respect towards you, OP, neither should you towards her. Go scorched earth. No one will blame you. And I recommend to go public with the infos so she can't create a false narrative. We already know she is a psycho. While you may be curious, for your purposes, their motivations don't really matter provided the info is accurate, which it seems to be. When she said she only loves you, either she's lying or this is how she treats the person she loves. Neither is a good quality in a partner. Cancel any wedding plans you've made, and don't fall for any fake promises or couples therapy BS. She did this after agreeing to marry you. This is as loyal as she's ever going to be, and she failed miserably. It's time to end it. You may not want to advertise what happened, but I wouldn't lie to anyone who asks. Thank you. Already contacted my uncle in my home country to cancel everything. You got so lucky. Someone up high was looking out for you. It hurts, but at least you didn't get married. That's what my dad told me. Horrible, but you now see the real her. Better to be broken now than broken 10 years from now where she gets the cash and prizes for infidelity. Well, I already took care of that. I'm the only child and my parents are immigrants. We saved money to build a business since I don't want my dad to work heavy jobs. He did already everything he could for me. And early this year, we bought 3 apartments and I paid extra money, put them on my parents' name. So if something happens like a divorce, whoever she is wouldn't get anything. There aren't prenups here. Next story. Wife of 5 years revealed she cheated on me less than 24 hours ago. I'm 30 male, she is 26 female, and she cheated on me less than 24 hours ago. She claims it's the first and only time, but I don't think I can trust her. I'm a shift worker, so I was on my night shift from 6 to 6 when the infidelity took place. Yesterday night she left with our 2 daughters to take them to her parents' house. I left to work my shift around the same time. She was dressed nicely because after dropping our daughters off, she was supposed to be attending a birthday party at a local restaurant. Around the time they were finishing eating, I called to check in with her to see how she was doing and if they were doing anything afterwards. She told me they planned to go to a bar, then she would be headed back to her parents' house to stay the night there with my daughters. I told her okay, be careful, and I loved her. After this point I had tried texting her a few times, but she never responded. I just chalked it up to that she must be busy with her friends, or that she had already made it back to her parents and went to sleep. Then around 4:30 in the morning, she calls me hysterically crying, saying that I needed to come home because she was spiraling and needed me to help her. She didn't explain why, just that she needs me immediately. So I leave work early and rush out to meet her at our house. I got home before her and started calling her to see where she was at, but the first couple times I called she didn't answer. But then she finally picks up and is still crying, saying things like she wants to end her life and she doesn't want to be on this earth anymore. Because she suffers from anxiety and depression, I immediately thought she is just in a bad place at the moment. I just start reaffirming her that she's loved and that whatever is going on, we can work it out if she will just get to the house so I can comfort her. She almost immediately stops me and says that I needed to stop because when she got there and told me what she needed to tell me, I was going to hate her. Instantly when she said this, I felt sick to my stomach. She eventually pulls up and at first doesn't want to get out of the car. But after me standing at the door to her car for a few moments, she opens it. She then tells me that she had cheated on me with a guy she went home with from the bar. All the air went out of me because I would have never expected this from her. I then asked her what the guy's name was, and she told me his name was Christian. A little backstory. She likes social media, so she is usually always on Snapchat, Facebook, or TikTok. There have been several instances that she has either willingly told me or that she showed me that guys were messaging her. But if they ever became flirty, she always informed them that she was married or she blocked them completely. About 2 weeks ago, she informed me that a guy was messaging her through private messages on Messenger, and that he was being flirtatious, so she blocked him. That same guy found her on Snapchat though, and began messaging her on there. She then told him that she was married and that she was not interested, but to my knowledge, never blocked him in any way. I asked what his name was, and she told me it was Christian. So flashback forward to her telling me she cheated and that his name was Christian. I connected the dots that it must be the same guy. I asked her if it is the same guy, and she said yes it was. She claims he saw her post on Snapchat that she was at that said bar and went to seek her out. When he got there, they proceeded to talk, and she became drunk and said she was feeling vulnerable and decided to go back to his house with him, where they proceed to hook up. She said she immediately regretted it and started crying for him to bring her back to her car so she can go home, which then led her to telling me within a few hours after doing it. After she told me, I asked why she had done it. Says that I had not been showing her enough affection lately, so she was feeling separated and lonely. So, when he showed up telling her that she was beautiful, she could not help herself but feel good about it. I felt heartbroken because I have devoted my entire life to my daughters and my wife. If I'm not at work, I'm with them every moment I can be, even though I do have a hard time showing affection because of the way I was raised. But I've been that way since we first met 6 years ago. She claims it was a giant mistake and that it will never happen again if I just forgive her. But she claims that I should take part of the blame too since I didn't show her enough affection. I just don't know how to feel. Did I really fail her as a husband that led her to do this, or was she already wanting to do this, but now regrets it and wants to try to shift the blame? I still love her, but I don't think I could ever trust her again. I don't think I'll be able to be romantic with her without picturing them together if we do decide to try to work things out. But if we don't, I'm afraid I will not get to see my daughters like I want to, which is what I think I'm most afraid of. I just want someone's advice. I don't want to go public with it yet with our families because I know it's most likely is going to cause irreversible turmoil. Now for the top advice. She is blame shifting. She liked the fact that he was sending her comments, and she probably didn't really block him, etc. He almost certainly didn't track her down to the bar from Instagram posts. She invited him or he invited her. This would have been planned in some way, or at least she knew that meeting a guy in a bar was likely to lead to a hookup. So if all that is true, you need to work out whether or not you will be able to look past that with her in the future, knowing that every time she goes out, there's a chance she is meeting up with a guy who gave her compliments when you didn't. Don't make any quick decisions, but think long and hard about this. I would also add that the birthday at the restaurant was likely to be a date with the guy. Yeah, and she made a whole drama fest so he would buy her victimhood. Even the switch to Snapchat sounds planned, because it is more discreet. Absolutely. This wasn't an accidental drift into something. There were a series of conscious steps that were being taken, moving closer and closer to them sleeping together. You share zero blame in this. The fact she is shifting some blame on you suggests to me that she could do this again. If you choose to stay, get counseling and make that a condition of reconciliation for her as well. She already suggested counseling herself. But the way I feel now, I just don't think I would be able to trust her even if we do. But I'm considering to try it. Please do not trust her. She initially acted like this was something she just fell into, when it was actually premeditated with someone she was already talking to when she knows it was wrong. Threats of self-harm are so common in cheaters. Do not put you and your child through the trauma of staying and dealing with the fallout of repeated behavior. Never let a cheater blame shift. You hold no responsibility for her actions. If the guy tracked her down via Snapchat, her reaction should have been that of horror. She should have treated him like a stalker. But what did she do? She entertained him and most likely gave enough signs for him to recognize that he had a chance of pulling her back to his place. Alcohol is no excuse. She knew his intentions. If she really wants to work it out, she needs to take ownership of her actions and the role she played in destroying your relationship and family. Next is what she's willing to do to rebuild it. It's all on her. Now for the last story. I know I'll eventually leave, I just don't know when I'll have the strength to. Almost a year since D-Day, and it's been objectively great. Wayward wife has done everything I've asked and has been a model spouse. We're communicating well, intimate life is better than ever, and there's nothing indicating she's not 100% committed towards staying loyal. We're both in therapy and have holistically become better people, individually and as partners. All to say that I know in my heart that I can't continue this farce. There has not been a single night where I didn't wake up to at least one bad dream, and there hasn't been a day where I haven't been plagued with intrusive thoughts. I fight through the doubt, the fear, the demons, and the anger every day for myself and my family, but it's endless. My subconscious mind resets itself every day, and I wake up starting the fight anew. Sure, it's getting easier as the dreams aren't as bad, the thoughts don't linger as long, and the tears don't come as easily, but I'm exhausted. The hysterical bonding phase has run its course, and the resentment is seeping in. I'm constantly drifting off into some daydream where I'm single and exploring a new city alone, with exciting new women in my life showering me with affection and attention without having had betrayed me. I long for a relationship built on mutual respect and love, not circumstance and logic. There has to be someone out there that can love me for being me, and who would die rather than betray me. Who can communicate her desires and fight alongside me, not against me because she's insecure or immature. Someone who's intelligent enough to figure out solutions, but brave enough to not need all the answers. A kind soul who wants peace but with a fiery heart who will defend it. I love my wife and I truly enjoy the life we currently have. I wish I could swipe my memory of her affair, and I wish I could spend my life with her, raising our children, growing old in laughter and happiness as we look back to all the beauty we shared in creating over the decades. I wish I could be happy with her without so much pain attached to me. I didn't deserve to be cheated on. I didn't deserve to be betrayed and disrespected as if I meant nothing, as if I wasn't strong enough to help her through her fears, or as if I wasn't man enough for her. I can't though. There is no future where we stay together and I respect myself, where I can hold my head high without doubt or fear sucking me down into despair. I'll never know the totality of her actions. If this truly was the first time, or if the actions she described occurred as told, the triggers will lessen and new memories will overlap the bad ones, but the body will remember. And her actions will corrupt my dreams for as long as she lays next to me. No matter how many nights I fall asleep in her arms, no matter how many kisses, surprise gifts, or words of endearment, there will be rot that festers. I'm not leaving today and I won't leave tomorrow, but that date is coming and I'll eventually be strong enough to start my new life. This is the feeling that sucks the most. I didn't reconcile with my ex, but he wanted to, and I know what we had and how I wish we could just wipe away the infidelity and go back to our happy life. But reality is, I'm up all night every night wishing he would stop trying to fix it and just let me move on. I'm heartbroken but still feel trapped. He destroyed our family and she destroyed yours. There's just no real safety or trust after that, even if you still care for them. It's better to just end it and try to be amicable for the kids. Reconciliation is just more selfishness on the part of the wayward wife in my opinion. They just don't want to feel bad about themselves at the expense of the betrayed's happiness. I'm honestly not sure what the motivation for reconciliation is for her, but I have a year's worth of effort that tells me she's remorseful and truly wants to fix the broken parts within herself. I cannot deny the improvements she's made, but it's not enough for me. It can't undo what's already happened. Is it selfish for her to attempt reconciliation? I don't think so. I could say it's selfish of me to keep her roped along while I make up my mind, especially now when I'm certain I'll be leaving. Some would say I'm entitled to that and she's at my mercy for what she did. But who's to judge? My goal isn't to make it even or for either one of us to suffer. I just want peace. I'll be tied to her for the rest of my life due to our children, so I want her at her best. For them. Seems like you're beating around the bush here. You're putting off the inevitable. Why waste time prolonging this farce as you called it? This might sound harsh, but I'm gonna be honest. Stop being so weak. This woman crapped all over you. Do what needs to be done. Yeah, it's easy to see me floundering as weakness, but I'm not an impulsive man. I like to take my time to make decisions, especially when I'm not the only one impacted. If time is being spent proactively to better himself and legally defend himself, I accept the beating around the bush emotionally. Only so long as you have the willpower to see it through. I think OP knows it won't get better, so I think it is him working up to ripping the bandage off. This is the mindset I'm in. I'm slowly repairing myself mentally and spiritually, so I'm in the proper mindset to make an important life decision. It's unfortunate that it's taken me this long, but there is still life to contend with. Now, I'm financially independent and emotionally stable. I've been in therapy and I've positioned myself for the next step. Now I wait for window of opportunity to make my exit, to cause as little discomfort to my children and family as possible. She may not deserve that grace, but they do.